economy. Thank you.
The member for Parramatta.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Deputy Speaker, some budgets age well and some budgets don't age very well. Joe Hockey's budget in 2014 certainly didn't age very well. Most of the measures had been abandoned within the year. In the UK, Liz Truss's budget didn't age very well in 2022, and within a month it was clear that her measures were disastrous. But other budgets do age well, and events validate their measures and show them to be right for the times. And the third budget of the Albanese Labor government, now just a few weeks old, has been validated by subsequent events and judged to be right for the economic conditions that we find ourselves in. Most of the criticisms of that budget that we heard very strongly over the last couple of weeks have shown to be relatively unfounded. Let's go through some of those criticisms one by one. First, we were told that the energy relief that was provided to all Australian households in the form of a $300 rebate would be inflationary. This was probably the dominant topic of commentary around the budget, that this measure, which the government felt was so important to help people with the cost of living, would ultimately be detrimental because it would push up inflation and hurt interest rates. Well, we had an adjudication of this yesterday, Deputy Speaker. The Governor of the Reserve Bank sat in the Senate hearing, and here's what she said. She said, "This measure is helping people who are clearly hurting at the moment. But I don't think it's material in terms of our forecasts for inflation." So all those fears, all those concerns, all that scare campaign about the impact of that $300 payment leading to higher inflation and higher interest rates, the Governor of the Reserve Bank has completely debunked that and said that it won't impact her forecast for inflation and obviously then can't impact the trajectory of interest rates. So that's a measure that, despite criticism at the time, has aged pretty well, a measure for whom the criticisms have been proved wrong. Secondly, Deputy Speaker, the second most trenchant criticism of the budget at the time of its announcement was that it was a big spending budget. The Shadow Treasurer on the 14th of May said, "This is a big spending con job." He said, and I quote, "Labor has added $315 billion of new spending at a time when we need restraint." Well, Deputy Speaker, that criticism has not aged well over the last 48 hours. The Australian economy, as predicted, has been very weak in the last quarter. And while 2 weeks ago the Shadow Treasurer wanted a bigger budget surplus and bigger budget cuts, I doubt he would say the same thing today in the face of a weakening economy. Now he has to acknowledge that budget cuts would have had a devastating effect on the economy and would have been completely inappropriate for the economic conditions that we find ourselves in. Third, Deputy Speaker, the third biggest criticism of the budget was that it would have a negative impact on real wages. Well, again, the Governor of the Reserve Bank gave strong testimony on this just this week. The Governor said that real wages have been negative, she was referring to the previous decade, but then said, "We expect real wages to start to rise basically from now." She went on to say, "They are rising now." So the Governor of the Reserve Bank's verdict on real wages growth in the economy over the last 10 years is that we've come out of a very dark tunnel, a period of significant low, in fact negative real wages growth, but we can see the light at the end of that tunnel, and Labor's policies have brought real wage growth back, and we expect to see the pay packets of workers moving forward in real terms. So each of these criticisms, Deputy Speaker, have proven over the last 2 weeks to be unfounded. In fact, the budget has done a good job of managing what many commentators call the narrow path. The narrow path that involves working to bring down inflation over the course of this year without crashing the economy. And we're really proud to say that Australia remains on that narrow path, while many other countries have fallen off it. Recessions in Britain, in Japan, in New Zealand, in Finland, in Ireland, but Australia remains capable and showing that it can bring down inflation without leading to a large spike in unemployment or a serious economic downturn. That's why this budget has proved to be right for the times and why it has suited the economic conditions of the moment.